Hi, I'm Caitlin, and this is Book Chats, and today I'm going to talk about The Serpent King by Jeff Zentner. So this is the 7th book that I've read for the 2016 Debut Author Challenge. I'm really excited that I'm this far ahead, this early in the year. This is probably the first time this has ever happened. I'm actually ahead before the halfway point of the year, and I have even more debuts waiting for me that I've been able to get. I'm in a great library system that has been able to get a lot of books for me. I've bought several. I just went to a book festival and I bought several there. But The Serpent King I actually picked up because I wanted to buddy read it with my friend Kayla, whose channel is Kayla Rain. She and I had different opinions about this book. This is the second debut of the year that I wouldn't really recommend, and this is kind of why. To me, it was very unfocused. It really took a long time to figure out what the book was actually supposed to be about. It didn't really have a story for maybe the first 75% of the book, and I really didn't like the way that religion was used in this book. So that's like the kind of the short version, but I'm going to go into a little more detail without trying not to spoil anything. For me, I described this book to a friend as a sloppy rural Bildungsroman or slice of life piece with too much to say and little time to say it in, so most of the book feels half-formed. So a big problem for me is I felt like this book could have done with an editor who forced Mr. Zentner to write it with more focus. It's possible that's just a specific style he was going for, and I just don't like that style. I'm not sure. But for me, in trying to kind of build this fully fleshed world and life, I really struggled to figure out what this book was supposed to be about. I think it was supposed to be about growing up in a rural area, and admittedly, I did not grow up in a very rural area, so maybe there's something that I'm missing. But for this book, until something that happens around page 249, I didn't, which is 75% of the way through the book, I was literally what is this book supposed to be about? So you get 3 points of view in this book: Travis, Lydia, and Dill. And they're very different people, but they're all friends with each other. And I think to some extent it's trying to show you kind of their different lives. And maybe that's the point of the book. And Dill, for me, really didn't sit well. Basically, Dill is the son of a preacher who practices this kind of extreme form of Christianity where he uses poisonous snakes and other poisonous things as part of his kind of worship ceremonies, which is generally considered to be kind of an extremist viewpoint by people. And that's kind of part of going in why I thought the book was called The Serpent King, although later there are other things that are revealed. But that character, Dale's father, is currently in jail for something unrelated to his preaching. And what I didn't like is that instead of kind of talking about that in a nuanced or interesting way that challenged you to consider what you believed, it kind of was this window dressing that the author, it felt was expecting you to react to in a specific way that only people who had the same kind of opinions as the author would react to it in that way. And everyone else, for me, I was why is this here? You're not interacting with it and questioning it and working with it in a way that I think is interesting and challenging, but you're also, it really just feels like set dressing in a way that became offensive to me because it wasn't dealt with, because it was there and it was more than just random character is this, but it was less than something that really explored that in depth. And that to me was just kind of personally not something I was okay with. I think in the last chapter, the author is trying to say something about that, but to me, I'm you didn't build this up throughout the whole book. You basically just expected us to agree with you because you thought we would agree with you without doing the work to make that happen. And so that was really frustrating to me. There's this thing that happens about 3/4 of the way through the book that actually does give it a little more focus and kind of narrows things down and causes the characters to focus. And that was really shocking, and it did actually make me feel most of the book as I was reading, I was I'm not connected to these characters at all. I don't feel anything on their behalf. The stuff is happening to them, and I can't even care. And then this thing happened, and I did actually care about that. It did actually make me feel something for that character, but it was really too little too late for me, and I really don't, the book as a whole, I just didn't take a lot out of it. So for me, it didn't really work, but your mileage may vary because it really was a personal thing. Like, I was personally very disconnected from it. I found it to be very unfocused, and I was personally offended by the way religion is dealt with. So I want to end with some books that I would recommend before I would recommend this book. So just really quickly, 4 books that I would recommend before The Serpent King. Truest by Jackie Leigh Summers. This is also set in a small town, and I think that it deals with small town things in a different and also interesting way and is a lot more focused. The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie. It took me a long time to finally read this book, and when I did, it really kind of hit me hard because it pointed out to me some things that are like privileges in my life that I didn't realize, but in a way that was very accessible and interesting, and it felt very authentic, and I really liked it. Conviction by Kelly Lloyd Gilbert. You guys know I've talked about this on my channel before. It was my favorite of the debuts that I read last year. I really like the way that the author in this book, and part of it's that she chooses this to be one of the main focuses of her book. The author deals with multiple kind of contrasting perspectives of Christianity, and the main character who's like deeply questioning kind of himself and his faith in relation to a father who is in jail in preparation for a trial. The Sacred Lies of Minnow Bly by Stephanie Oakes. This book does the hard work of taking what is a pretty extreme kind of, I'm just going to say this, the main character was raised in a cult. The main character does not know she was raised in a cult because she was raised in it, and it's not like they say, hey guys, this is a cult when they raise you in a cult, but it's very clear to the reader that she's raised in a cult. But Stephanie Oakes does the hard work of making you see the way that this character was indoctrinated and things she was told, and using it to question how you actually like communicate about and talk about and think about your own faith. I felt as a person of faith reading it, and I really appreciated the book. So that is my review of The Serpent King by Jeff Zentner. It is the 7th book out of 12 that I have read for the debut author challenge this year, and I actually feel like I might even read more than 12 this year. I'm doing really well so far. So let me know down below if you guys are appreciating these reviews, if there's something else you would like to see in them from me, and if there is a debut that you have read and really enjoyed or read and not liked, or that you know is coming up and you would like me to take a look at. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!